So I think Exit 8 might be the best video game adaptation ever made, at least when it comes to film. Because if we're expanding into like television, then I've always been a ride or die for that Gangs of London TV show. Which honestly, I had that game when I was a teenager. I would play it on the PSP, and I hadn't heard of anyone else playing the game. I don't know if anyone else has even heard of the game, and it was like a pretty basic sort of like GTA clone, and I never finished it, but it was something that was very amusing. And honestly, I don't know why I'm talking about this. This is very random, totally off topic. Sorry, just a weird little aside there. But anyways, Exit 8. This is a new sort of psychological thriller horror movie that is based on a game which I have played. And for anyone who doesn't know, the basic setup of the game is that you are in it's first person point of view. You're going down this pathway out of this kind of like a metro station, and you're just trying to get out, but you basically find yourself going in a loop essentially through these hallways. And the only way for you to progress into sort of like different areas, different stages, I guess you could call them, is if you take notice of different anomalies in your surroundings. So if you notice something different, you turn around and then you like continue on. And that way you can go, up to each level 1 through 8 before you finally get out. I actually played the game sort of in anticipation of the movie's release. When the first trailer came out, I already had the sort of PlayStation Plus subscription, so I was able to just download it and play it. And I went through it in like 45 minutes. It's a very simple game, but if you're big on puzzles, if you're big on, this kind of like luminal horror thing that's kind of big nowadays, then I think you'd be really into it. It's got a great atmosphere to it, and it's very eerie. It really kind of gets under your skin in kind of subtle ways. And so we have this new film adaptation of the game, which is from a Japanese filmmaker, Genki Kawamura. Sorry if I butcher the pronunciation, but the first, I'd say, 30 to 40 minutes of the movie really is just the experience of the game, and it captures that experience basically perfectly. Like, even just from an aesthetic standpoint, the production designer did an amazing job at really just bringing this kind of looping hallway to life, really putting in all these like little details that you would have to look at in the game just to notice all the different anomalies that you would, take notice of, and that the character in the film will have to take notice of. And the first like 30 minutes really does a great job at kind of capturing a lot of the sort of frustrations that you would experience as you were playing the game, where you're trying to get used to the rules, you're trying to get an understanding of like what level of anomaly are you expecting, and then of course all the sort of like wilder things that the game would throw at you to really kind of mess with your mind. And on that level, like, it really does feel like it captures the experience of playing that game without making it feel like, it feels like I'm watching someone play the game, if that makes sense. But the reason I say that this is one of the best video game adaptations ever is not just because it does a great job at capturing the experience and the feeling that is associated with what made the game so effective. It also knows how to subvert those expectations in just the right ways, knowing when to add new elements that really adds a lot of meat to the narrative overall. Because like I said, the game is very, very simple. There isn't really much of a story that's like propelling the gameplay necessarily. It really is just you in the hallway, you got to get out, and that's it. So the filmmakers here really had to like build a film from the ground up utilizing this framework, and they do that in a really smart way by first, of course, kind of adapting the overall experience of what it's like to play the game, but they also bring in these newer elements over the course of the film by sort of switching up different points of view, adding in different characters, and it works within the sort of logic of the looping hallway with the rules that have already been established. And it also brings in, of course, a lot of smart characterization with the main character, who you get to know over the course of the film with a lot of the emotional baggage that he's been dealing with. And so what you end up having is this really compelling psychological thriller that is ultimately all about parental anxieties. There is a repeating thematic motif about parents, about protecting children. There's a repeating sound of a baby crying that haunts the main character's mind. And it really kind of digs into a lot of the fears that come with the responsibility of having to take care of a child, to have someone under your care that, you don't know if you're really up to that or not, and having to sort of push through regardless. And so all these new elements that get brought into the narrative that weren't in the game before basically all serve this thematic through line of the various sort of anxieties of parenthood that our main character is trying to reconcile with. And I found it to be really effective and really moving even at times. And of course it does all this while still being a really creepy and really nerve-wracking horror film. It's incredibly well made. The actors all do a phenomenal job. It's really smart about knowing just how much to build something up without it getting repetitive. And right as it gets close to kind of crossing that line, it brings in something new. It adds a new twist so that it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you on edge. And it really was very effective. And it was something that I had a really great time with. So I can't wait to see what else this director has in store, because I think he has a really bright future, especially within the horror genre. So those are my thoughts on Exit 8. If you've seen the film, then feel free to let me know what you thought of it in the comments, especially if you've played the game.